Do you really even remember just how good Kyrie Irving was in his lone season playing for Duke University? What about some of the next great one and done players that could potentially be on their way to Durham? A really fun episode of Locked On Blue Devils coming your way right now.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson, and it's so great to have you here with us on this Monday, August 7th, 2023. Hope that everyone had an amazing weekend and excited to be back at it for another week, talking all things Duke athletics. Of course, we're counting down the days until Labor Day. That'll be the first game of the football season for the Duke Blue Devils when they host Clemson. But we've got a lot of basketball to discuss today, including a trip back down memory lane to talk about Kyrie Irving with our good pal Pablo Cong from Durham. We'll do that on our show here today. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to our podcast feed for free. Wherever you get your podcast, you'll be able to listen to the show each and every day. I would encourage you to leave a 5-star rating and review about this podcast. Your support means the world to us. Watch us on YouTube each and every day. Hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel as well. I'm on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. And of course, be sure to follow the show on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils. All right, he's set to make his second appearance here today on Locked On Blue Devils. He's by way of Durham, and it's our good buddy Pablo Cong who joins us now on the show. The reception was so incredibly warm your first time around. Super easy decision to bring you back onto the program, Pablo. Hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, I'm doing good, JJ, man. How you doing, bro? I appreciate you having me. It was great last time, man. I'm just looking forward to having another great show, brother.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about some of the latest news that we've had with this Duke basketball team. We last spoke in the middle of July, a few weeks ago, and we've had some movement on the coaching staff. Emmanuel Dildy's coming over from Oklahoma to fill that last spot. We, of course, have some big recruiting news and players that we're following in terms of when they could possibly be making a commitment decision. And then, of course, we had a trip to Chicago for the Duke men's basketball team, a good bonding exercise for those guys. I mean, how have you felt about the last few weeks of Duke basketball?
Well, I'm just like every other Duke fan. I'm excited. I think the last few weeks have been interesting. And honestly, I'm just ready for some news, some good news. And, I think as Duke fans, we get a little spoiled sometimes, especially when we got recruit after recruit committing to Duke. So I'm just ready for some news though, JJ, but I'll tell you, I am excited.
So let's get into that. Let's get into some of the news that we're looking for. Last week, Cooper Flagg went on an unofficial visit to Duke to see Jon Scheyer and company. He posted some workout photos with his buddy Sean Stewart, who he was high school teammates with. They're at Montverde. You're from Maine and making the trip down to Florida, a convenient stop there in Durham, and Cooper Flagg pulled up for a visit.
Yeah, so Cooper Flagg on campus, pulled up for an unofficial. I think it sent the social media and just the news world, the basketball world, in a frenzy. Everybody was talking about it, and it's honestly it's good news because I do believe that was his first college visit, if I'm not mistaken. And it's huge to have him on campus. I mean, he took the pictures. I mean, you see the pictures drop today. He looks like a Duke player. He looks good in the uniform. We just waiting for a commitment. That's basically what it comes down to. And I don't want to, make any bold predictions or anything, but I do think he's going to be a Duke Blue Devil.
I do too. I mean, it's certainly there's plenty of reason for optimism with early interviews that he had in his recruiting process, that Duke has always been one of his favorite teams, his favorite team, period, and what it would be like to get to play for them, to take this unofficial visit, to know what this program stands for and their ability to produce top-level talent. Well, you're right. At the end of the week, we saw Cooper Flagg actually post photos from the visit wearing the Duke uniform. He put on that number 2 jersey for Duke, and that's just got to be a whole different feeling for a recruit. It's one thing to see that scholarship offer, right, to be able to hold that in your hands. I bet it's an entirely different feeling when you do put on a uniform for the first time.
Yeah, no, absolutely, JJ. I think, I can only imagine, what Cooper was going through his head. I remember the first time I, stepped on the floor at Duke, and I was just there as a fan. You know what I mean? So I can just imagine, knowing that he has a chance to play for a program like that, super prestigious, probably the best program in college basketball. I mean, really, there's no probably. It is the best program in college basketball. So I can just only imagine how he feels and how he felt at that time. And I know he's probably excited. And like I said, we're all excited for Cooper as well.
Excited to see exactly what this decision or timeline looks like for him, because the one thing to watch, as we discussed last week with my friend Isaac Trotter from 247 Sports, who had just a remarkable profile of Cooper Flagg and his family. And I do want folks to go back and read that, to talk about his upbringing from Maine, the fact that no basketball players really make it out of Maine, how competitive he and his family are. But there's just this big rumor looming that at this point, I don't even know if it's a rumor anymore, but it seems as though Cooper Flagg is going to make the decision to reclass into the class of 2024. It speeds him up in his timeline to get to the NBA. Given his age, this is a move that he would be able to make. So again, that's not official just yet, Pablo, but it does feel like before you know it, it'll be Cooper Flagg coming a year earlier to college than many people initially thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm with everybody else. You know what I mean? I think I wrote a piece on Cooper like in May or June, and I mentioned something about a reclass, and I got a lot of feedback off of the article that I wrote on Cooper Flagg. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time, and I think it makes total sense. I mean, he doesn't have anything else to prove in high school, but again, you know what I mean? I'm not in Cooper's shoes. Only thing I could do is just cheer for him and just, I want him to make the best decision for him and his family. And I think that's what it'll come down to. I know Coach Scheyer and the rest of the coaching staff and even the players are, they're there welcoming him with open arms. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I think ultimately, like you, JJ, I think he does reclass, and it's going to be great for Duke.
Excited to see what that looks like officially and how he can continue to add to this class of 2024 that's already got a couple of really premier players in the group and could possibly be adding more here in the future. A lot of things to discuss here with our good buddy Pablo Cong from Ball Durham, and we'll continue our conversation after our first time out here on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our very good friends over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you would like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Moving forward here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside my pal Pablo Cong, who is a contributor for balldurham.com. Tell me a little bit about your work and where people can follow you, Pablo.
Y'all can follow me at on Twitter at Coach P Cong. Also on Instagram at Pablo Cong Scouting. I write for the Ball Durham. I got a lot of stories up there, and you can check me out at the Ball Durham.
Awesome. We'll be sure to go check out the great work that you've been up to. I want to get into one of your stories that you wrote on Kyrie Irving and his lone season at Duke in just a little bit, but I do want to keep talking recruiting just a bit more here with you. Again, the class of 2024 is shaping up. The Blue Devils already have 2 commitments from Isaiah Evans and Darren Harris. And at the time of our recording, that's all that's on the horizon right now, that have committed for Duke. More on the horizon, though, possibly with some 2024 recruits making decisions soon. Catch us up to speed. Where are we right now?
Yeah, so we got so I know Dylan Harper. It's said that he's supposed to be committing soon, and also Flory Bidunga. unfortunately, I don't think that Duke will end up with Dylan Harper, but I think we're good on Flory Bidunga. I can pretty much not guarantee, but I'm pretty sold on the fact that Flory Bidunga will be a Duke Blue Devil.
So with that being said, trying to figure out when exactly these commitments will take place. I saw the other day, of course, we've got the Under Armour circuit that's taking place right now on ESPNU. A lot of games will be broadcasted. Bidunga will be showcased in this event, and it feels as though we're setting up for a possible, TV. We've seen those courtside kind of interview commitments. Maybe that's what Flory's setting us up for.
Yeah, I mean that might be possible, JJ. That if that happened, that'd be great. I'm not sure about the game schedule or when it's happening, but I'm gonna look out for that. And if he committed on TV, that would be great. Maybe that is something that he's waiting for. We've seen that in the past with guys like Jason Tatum and other guys, so that would be great.
Tell us about the player, Flory Bidunga. What would Duke be getting if they land him as a commit?
So Flory Bidunga, 6'8", 6'9", absolute monster on the court, top level defender, elite defender, super long wingspan, shot blocker, vertical spacer. On offense, you got a guy that's his offense is developing. So he's in high school, he's able to dominate. In college, it'll be a little bit more difficult, but his shot is coming along pretty nicely. It doesn't look too bad. He's a monster on the glass. He's able to, do a lot of different things. He can switch on defense, and he's, laterally he can move. So that would be a heck of a pickup for Duke.
And they're always needing rim protection, as we've talked about in recent seasons. Duke has been pretty elite in that regard. Excited to see what that looks like this upcoming year with Kyle Filipowski playing a ton at the 5. But being, 6'8", 6'9", not the tallest center that we've seen in recent years for Duke, but nonetheless, as you're saying, he is quite well at defending the rim.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's an absolute monster, though, JJ. I understand that he might not be the 7-footer that we had in, Mark and Derek, but the things that he does bring to the table is, a super high motor. His motor's always running hot. He never takes a play off, So with guys like that, he's super coachable. With guys like that, you can't really replace that. He has heart. He's strong. He's got the broad shoulders. So he fits right into what I think what Duke is going in the direction as far as defense first.
You mentioned Dylan Harper. We're expecting a decision coming soon from Mr. Harper himself. At the time of our recording, again, we haven't heard anything, but a lot of people really do feel like this is Rutgers' kind of race to lose in that regard. So with that being said, taking a look at this Duke team, other kind of recruits to be aware of with lists being cut down this time of year. Tyler Betsey, another player that recently cut his list down to 7 schools. I see you nodding already. What can you tell us about Mr. Betsey?
Yeah, no, another phenomenal player, and I think that's another option for Duke. I know we got similar guys already committed to that class, and Darren Harris and Isaiah Evans, but Betsey, he's a guy that'll fall right into place and fit the mold of what Jon Scheyer is trying to go with anyway. So I think recruiting multiple guards that can play multiple positions is the best thing. So, a guy like Tyler Betsey, he's also a good defender, a lockdown defender, excellent shooter. I honestly think it's a possibility, JJ. I think it's a possibility that we can snag Betsey.
So, of course, he's got an upcoming visit on September 16th. Tyler Betsey from the state of Connecticut. UConn is notably in the running as well, and they reigning national champs. That's a lot to speak for there. But Betsey recently spoke with Rivals and was asked about Duke and asked about an upcoming visit on September 16th. And Tyler Betsey said, quote, "They gave their freshmen a lot of freedom this year. I like that they let them play through their mistakes, which ultimately led to them winning the ACC tournament and eventually even winning a game in the national tournament. Then the pedigree for Duke speaks for itself," end quote. We don't talk about that. These freshmen do like the fact that Duke kind of lets you do your thing, and credit to Jon Scheyer in year one when particular freshmen or players in general were struggling. They weren't immediately sent to the bench. They were given that opportunity to kind of work through it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, that just speaks, it's a testament of, the kind of coach that Jon Scheyer is and what he's going to be going forward with him being, I think he's 35 years old right now. He can relate to the players. So he's a player's coach, so I think it is a big deal when you have a guy, and that's a very recruitable thing that you can use, a recruiting tool that you could use, is knowing that, a coach is not just going to sit you for making mistakes. And we've seen that time and time again last year with Jon Scheyer. And I do believe we will see that again, even though we have a lot of guys that aren't freshmen, but we will see our freshmen come in, make some mistakes, and still get a chance to, redeem themselves, and they won't be just pulled. So I think that's huge. That's huge. And so for Tyler Betsey to say something like that, that's a heck of a quote, JJ.
And then also in the class of 2024, new names to kind of be aware of with lists being finalized. Tyler Betsey, a 4-star, has Duke in his top 7. A top 10 player in the country, and VJ Edgecombe from the state of New York recently trimmed his list down to 10 schools, and Duke is still in the running. 6'5", 180. What do you like about VJ Edgecombe?
I like everything about VJ Edgecombe. I saw him quite a few times during this past AAU season. And I liked everything I saw about him. I like his, the thing about VJ Edgecombe that I like the most is I think it was just him being so coachable. And when things weren't going his way, he was able to just overcome that stuff, you know what I mean? And just get past it and really show a lot of leadership on that team who was down. He plays with Michael Brown. So the point guard was down for a while. He had to play point guard. Sometimes things weren't going his way. He still stayed in his guys' ears, kept him engaged in the game. But overall, VJ Edgecombe is a heck of a player. Like you said, 6'5" guy, another kid with broad shoulders. And you could tell as he gets older, he's going to have a bigger frame. I do believe he might even get a little taller, super long arms. Very, very, very athletic. I think the only thing with VJ is that they just got to define his position. And I think, he's got to figure out, well, it's not him, but the coaches have to figure out if they're going to, want him to be a point guard or, a shooting guard. So I think that's the biggest thing with him. But other than that, he's another guy that fits right in with the Duke mold. So I really like him, JJ.
State of New York, top 10 list for VJ Edgecombe: Florida, Baylor, Duke, Alabama, St. John's, Miami, Florida State, UConn, Michigan, and the NBA G League Ignite. I think a lot of this, talking about so many names that we're throwing at folks, if Cooper Flagg reclasses to 2024, that changes the dynamic entirely. But also, who's returning? Like, we still have a basketball season to be played, and of the 4 main returners coming back this season, plus 4 incoming freshmen, how many years do they stay in Durham? And that kind of limits the scholarships that may or may not be available. It's always moving chess pieces for Jon Scheyer and this coaching staff to figure out what the roster is going to look like year to year. Yeah,
no, absolutely. That's just something that, I think that as time goes on, Jon Scheyer, he's going to get, he's already good at it. He's going to get excellent at it. And I don't think any of those guys that came back this year, the 4 main guys, I don't think any of them are going to be in Durham next year. So, I think as far as scholarships, I think we're going to be okay, JJ. I think we're going to be okay. I think that's going to be 4 guys that's going to be in the NBA draft. Hopefully, Jeremy gets picked up by a team. But I know the other 3 will definitely get drafted. And that's 4 open scholarships right there, JJ.
Yeah, and not to mention these freshmen that may or may not be climbing up some draft boards and that sort of thing. So come one, come all, as we're talking to recruits in the class of 2024. That's awesome. All right, let's step aside for one more timeout, and then we come back and we have a little fun with our good buddy Pablo Cong here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part that you need fits just right the first time around. Add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win with the right parts are guaranteed. You can get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Final few moments here of today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson alongside my pal Pablo Cong. All right, let's talk about Kyrie Irving's lone season in Durham. This is a recent story that you wrote for balldurham.com. Why did you want to put this piece together?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, JJ. So basically the Kyrie Irving article just came about is I was scrolling through Twitter and I seen some clips of Kyrie in the Drew League, and I was just like, man, he's so special, you know what I mean? So I just kind of had a nostalgia with it, and so I just fired up the YouTube and the Synergy. I went back and I looked at some Duke games because it was a while ago. I had to refresh my memory, and I just started looking at the Duke games. I watched about 5 of them, and I was like, oh man, we should have won the national championship that year. So I decided to write about it. You know, I wanted to bring people back and just to let them know, you know what I mean, how special that team was, and not in particular how Kyrie was special. You know what I mean? And we should have won that national championship, but that's okay. So yeah, that's basically the reason why I wrote that article, JJ.
Kyrie Irving's short-lived but impactful year in Durham. BallDurham.com also direct links to some Kyrie Irving Duke highlights for you to go back and look at. That year, Duke's coming off the 2010 national championship. They're getting the number 1 player in the country. They're bringing back Nolan Smith and Kyle Singler to go into their senior seasons as, national champions. Nolan Smith really took his game up to the next level that season. But some of those performances, you're right, that Kyrie had, a lot of people want to go back to that Michigan State game that he had kind of in Cameron. If he had played the whole season and if Duke was really in a groove going into the NCAA tournament, I don't see any reason why they couldn't have won back-to-back championships.
Yeah, no, absolutely, JJ. You're right. You know what I mean? And that's what I wholeheartedly believe. And, with him getting injured and he was out for 2.5 months, almost 3 months. And then he came back and he still played well when he came back, but it kind of threw the team off. So I just believe that, that whole season was just, it was upsetting, seeing how it unfolded. But he had a special 11 games. I tell you that. He had a very special 11 games, JJ.
I wonder, yeah, he's so talented despite the limited collegiate career and still drafted number 1 overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2011 draft. I love what you wrote here. It only adds to the mystique of what could have been accomplished at Duke that season had he been healthy the whole year. We never know. We never will know, but it is fun to kind of speculate. And it's awesome that even playing just 11 games for the Blue Devils, Kyrie claims Duke. There's no denying. I mean, he definitely claims being a part of the Brotherhood.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's not too many guys that go to Duke and don't claim to be the Brotherhood, and I think it's a special thing, you know what I mean? And you can see how it's passed on from player to player. And also, Kyrie Irving, he's in every commitment video.
Yeah.
With another one.
Right.
So, yeah, Kyrie is definitely a Dookie, and he's a Brotherhood guy. And I'm happy he was a part of the Brotherhood, and, we will always claim him.
Really excited to see what happens for him in this upcoming season. Going back to the Dallas Mavericks, already won NBA championship. He's been outspoken throughout his NBA career. It feels as though, as of late, more of the conversation around Kyrie has to do with off-the-court topics rather than what this guy is able to do with the basketball in his hands. And he's gotten a little bit chippier in recent weeks on Twitter and on other platforms, kind of reminding folks that it seems like Kyrie's ready to let people know just exactly the type of basketball player he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's one of the things about Kyrie Irving and what comes along with the whole, stigma of being Kyrie Irving is, a lot of stuff that happens off the court, which, I have no problem with. I'm in agreement with Kyrie with probably 99% of the things that he does off the court, just to be clear. But, as far as on the court, I mean, I think he's going to tear the NBA up this season, this upcoming season. Nobody's going to be able to stop him. And I think he's on a mission. Just like you said, he is a little chippier on social media and in interviews and things like that. And I like that from him. I like that from him. And I think that kind of, will fuel him. Not that he needs the fuel, because, I don't think he's guardable anyway. I don't think anybody can guard him. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does this season. And I'll tell you, JJ, I'm in his corner. I'm rooting for him. I really am.
I think I'm laughing because I'm remembering, I think one of the more recent posts that Kyrie put out there on Instagram is that he's gone away with the beard. He went for a clean face shave and hadn't seen Kyrie without that bearded look in quite some time. So that was kind of fun to look back at. Always having a good time as Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Pablo, this has been a whole lot of fun chopping it up with you, talking about various topics across the Duke basketball landscape. One more time, kind of remind folks where they can find you and all of your work.
Hey, guys, y'all can find me on Twitter at Coach P. Cong. You can also find me on Instagram at Pablo Cong Scouting. And you can also find me at the 5 Point Podcast with my guys D, AC, Jack, and TK. 5 Point fam, we in the building.
JJ needs to make an appearance on. I'm saying
absolutely.
I got throwing out all these initials. I mean, I need to be a part of the fam.
I got one more plug too. One more plug for you, JJ. Shout out to my man Kevin Connolly from the Ball Durham. I'm also part of the Ball Durham. Shout out to Kevin Connolly for bringing me on board. I'm indebted to you, brother, and I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, and without Kevin, kind of made the connection easy for me and you, and here we are having great conversation. So make sure you go check out all of Pablo's work. And we're going to do this again sometime soon, Pablo, okay?
All right, JJ. I appreciate it.
All right. That's my pal Pablo Cong from Ball Durham joining us here on the program today. And that's going to do it for another episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Do make sure that you follow us on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review on the Apple Podcast platform. I really would appreciate that. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. My name is JJ Jackson. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you and good day.